What's happening, guys? Cooper Carter here for G66, and on this week's Fractal Friday, I'm going to show you how to dial in your very own personalized version of perhaps the most elusive guitar effect ever, the much sought after talent knob. As guitarists, we have all been there. Maybe you're hours into woodshedding a particular tune and you just can't seem to nail it. Or maybe you're playing live and you're at a show and just not feeling it, and you reach over for your amp or your unit and you start adjusting knobs, trying to dial in a sound that's going to feel a little better under your fingers. In either case, every guitarist, I feel like, has been in the situation where we just wish we could reach out and grab a talent knob and just crank it up a little bit. Now, of course, we're all familiar with the effect that simply kicking on a drive pedal can instantly have on your playing, or maybe stepping on a solo boost, or kicking on a special delay that gets you into a better sonic space. But these are binary solutions. They're either on or they're off. And you may not always need an entire drive pedal's worth of help getting injected into your tone to nail a particular part or to get into a better headspace on stage. By the turn of that same coin, going and reaching for a single parameter, like the mid, for example, on your amplifier, isn't necessarily going to get you what you want, even if you do have all of the control that's available to you in that one knob. So let's turn to the power of Fractal Audio's modifiers to really dial in your own personalized talent knob, a single parameter adjustment that can affect any number of different parameters in the Axe-Fx FM9 or FM3. Now, as always, this is a very short video covering just one method, but if you guys want to get the absolute most out of your Fractal Audio Systems unit, whether that is the Axe-Fx 3, the FM9, or the FM3, make sure to visit classes.coopercarter.com for my complete Fractal Audio Masterclass series. What I have here is what would be for me kind of a standard lead. This one is sort of based around a David Gilmour type setup with a high power or high watt type amplifier, a bit of overdrive, some delay, and some reverb. And at its default settings that I have dialed in right now, it sounds like this. A lead that I would be very, very happy to play through on a given night. But again, every once in a while, you've got that show where it's just not happening. But adding another drive pedal or switching to, let's say, a different channel on this one with more gain might give me a little bit too much or might not give me enough. So I want to create a knob that will dial in dynamically and in increments the level of what I'm referring to tongue-in-cheekly as talent here. Any parameter in a Fractal unit that has this little yellow circle on it can be modified by right-clicking or command-clicking it. This pulls up the modifier screen, and the source of that modifier can be set to any of the controllers available to the unit, either internally through the controller suite or externally through pedals, buttons, switches, etc. Now, for our talent knob, we could select a manual controller, which allows us to tie these parameters that we're going to be modifying to one of the 5 A, B, C, D, or E knobs on the front panel of our unit. We would then go to the Perform page in the editor, access the Controllers menu, find this first manual controller, and drag it to our global performance controls, which would then put it on the front panel of our unit under that page. Then we can simply reach for that knob and turn it up to access a little bit of talent. And if you're on the FM9 or the FM3, this very well may be what you want to do since the unit is right in front of you. I'm on the Axe-Fx 3 here, so instead of having to walk back to my unit, I want to instead be able to either reach down or use my foot. I could, in this case, turn to one of the many expression knobs available through third parties. There is the line of knobs from OCD or Otter Custom Design. I, however, have several EV1 controllers at my feet here in my studio, so I'm going to make my talent knob for this example the pedal that is plugged into my FC controller. So this will be more of a talent pedal than a knob. Now you'll see that since my pedal is all the way up, my drive is now on 10. If I put the pedal all the way down, the drive goes to 0. I want to dial in the behavior though, so that as I increase this pedal, I'm bringing up the level of the drive as if I had bent down and just turned up the drive knob on a physical pedal if I need a little boost to this lead here. So what I'm going to do is set the minimum parameter to be about where I had it before, around 4.5. And then let's put the maximum somewhere around 7. We're going to add a little bit of saturation. Maybe we can take this level up a little bit too. Let's say starting at, again, FC1, pedal 1, 6.5, where I had it before. A little bit of level. Let's go up to maybe 8 or so. So at the bottom, we have the standard sound. Nice little boost there, a nice little kind of just heating up of the sound. But of course, we are not just limited to increasing the amount of drive here. Let's turn to the amp block. And of course, anyone who has gigged with an amp has had that moment playing live where you're not feeling it. So you go back and start messing with knobs. Let's do it all at once because all of this tone page is modifiable. This treble gain, we've got it about 6 3/4, 7. So let's go ahead and attach that to our FC pedal. We're going to go back up to, it's about 6.7 here. And then let's say we can goose that up to maybe around 8 as well. For the normal gain, I'm going to go ahead and put the pedal down so we see our defaults. For the normal gain, we've got it on 5. Let's see what this adds. Yeah, let's say we'll come up from, let's say we'll come up from 5 to maybe 6.5. I don't want to be too drastic here because we're going to start stacking a lot of different additions here to really make this sound come alive. Just raise the bass up a little overall. So let's turn to the mid, really the most important parameter for a lead tone, in my opinion, as far as the EQ suite goes on an amplifier. I'm going to attach this to our pedal as well. We're going to set the minimum to around 8 where we had it and just goose it up a little bit, like a point maybe. And with that mid boost coming in, I am going to do a little bit of adjustment here on the bass. Let's attach that to the pedal as well. I'm going to make the minimum, so when the pedal is all the way down, 2 about, and then the maximum, as I bring the pedal up, I'm going to lower it to around 1, just to take a little bit of that bottom end out as it saturates. Very nice. Let's move to one of my all-time favorite pages here, the input EQ in the amplifier block, a very powerful way to change where and how your amplifier is distorting because the signal that is hitting it is itself being shaped before it enters the amplifier's gain stages. My standard trick for making a lead pop live is to simply somewhere around 1K between, 800 and 1300, depending on your playing and the type of music, just add about a 3 dB boost with a pretty smooth cue right around here. It just helps the guitar pop out. This is really where the guitar speaks live. It can really add something to edge of breakup tones, but it also makes a lead stand out really nicely. So what I'm going to do is attach our controller here and FC1 pedal 1, and I want it to go from 0 dB, so nothing, up to, at the top of our pedal, let's say 3. Any more than that, you can start to get a little brittle, a little shrill. Now, of course, you are going to hear this, but I think the real benefit of this setting here and why I dial it in on so many tones is that this really accentuates the ability to dig into the notes. It really just makes the notes, especially on a lead or an edge of breakup, as I mentioned, bloom and get under your fingers, and really adds that kind of chewiness to the strings and to a tone. We're getting into kind of ephemeral kind of guitar speak here, but let's hear it. And if you guys try this on your side, I hope you feel it as well. That just makes everything feel better to me. And more than anything else, is probably my single go-to parameter for sort of a micro talent knob if I'm just changing one thing. Now keep in mind, whether you're using a knob or a foot pedal or some other type of external controller, we have the entire range of this controller. We don't have to go from minimum to maximum. We can go somewhere in the middle for just a little bit of lift. One thing we can also do is add some damping to our attack and our release so that if I push the pedal all the way up rapidly all at once, there's still a little bit of lag. So all the way down and it lags a little bit. So this effect can fade in a little more organically, even if you just stomp on the pedal. Another trick that you can add to your talent knob recipe lives in the dynamics page of the amplifier under the output compression type. The gain enhancer output compression type was designed and put in the unit to recreate or mimic or replace the effect of having a loudspeaker in the room with you when you are playing under headphones. The kind of sterile lack of sustain that you get without the sonic interaction between the strings and the pickups and the sound in the room can really be a bummer when you're under cans. And turning this up actually really nicely recreates that effect so that playing under headphones is much, much more enjoyable. Now, live or in a room with a loudspeaker, turning this up can give you a lot of unwanted feedback. It can really make the strings somewhat uncontrollable at high values, but you may want to try just adding a tiny bit of this to a live sound in order to get just a little more liveliness under the strings, a little more feedback. So I'm going to set our maximum at around 1 here, just to add a little something. And again, with a very loud speaker, be careful because this kind of lead could run away with you. The next ingredient in our talent knob is going to be a parametric EQ. Anyone familiar with my live EQ tips Fractal Friday video will know that I'm a big fan of adding a little lift here and there to increase pick attack if that's what you need, or actually to take pick attack away if you're more of an Eric Johnson type player or you play a lot of legato. In this case, though, for the talent knob, I want to give us a little bit of lift in the pick attack so that those transients are coming through. Your playing sounds more confident coming back to you in your ears. The attacks are more present so that the guitar is just a little bit more alive. So what I'm going to do is modify this fourth frequency band here. We're going to bring it up to around 2700. Pick attack to my ears lives somewhere between 2.5 and 3K. So let's go with 2700. We're going to go with a pretty soft Q here. And I think probably around 2 dB, 2.5 dB is what's going to do it for us. I'm going to attach it to our pedal, and we're going to have 0 as our minimum, because it's close to it there. And let's say 2.5, maybe 2.64. There you go. And as I bring that up, you'll see this little hump right here. I'm going to shrink this Q just a little bit. So I'm very happy with what we are adding to the gain, how we're shaping the distortion, what we're adding in the EQ space, and really just how the strings feel like they're coming alive under my fingers as I bring that pedal up. So let's turn to a couple of time-based effect adjustments. There are certain tweaks you can make to a tone that take it to that sort of God mode tier, where as soon as you hit into that sound, you immediately feel like everything just gets way cooler. I'm thinking too of like back in the day playing Guitar Hero, anybody who played that game, the star power, when you got all the blue stars and you tilted the neck up and it added a bunch of reverb and delay and it just sounded a lot bigger and cooler. So let's go for capturing a little bit of that vibe. We have a delay here that is a dual delay. We've got 667 on the left and we have 333 on the right. All I'm going to do here is adjust the master feedback a little bit as we move this pedal up. So right now we have this. Let's attach our pedal here. We'll set the minimum to be where we are at right now, which is 20%. And then let's say the maximum should be 40. We'll double the feedback. And if you were to move that pedal up in the middle of playing a solo to add a little bit more feedback, it wouldn't be the kind of thing that anyone would go, oh, okay, he just added a bunch of feedback. It would just all sort of mesh into the sound over time and create a more complex, sort of thicker sonic environment. Let's also add about 4 or 5 points to the mix. So we're at 19% here at the bottom. Let's go with, 23 or so, just to bring it up a little bit. And I'm going to dampen this as well, so that it doesn't immediately move the mix up, but almost more importantly, it doesn't immediately pull the mix down as we move the pedal back down. So we have our bottom. We have our top. Let's turn to our reverb here. Currently, we've got the medium room set to 3 seconds at a 15% mix. All I'm going to do here is just double the amount of time we have. So we're at 3 seconds at the bottom. Let's go up to, let's more than double. Let's say 7 seconds. And same thing here. I'm going to add some damping as well on both the pedal down and pedal up parameters, so the attack and the release. So at the bottom, we have this. At the top, we get this. So I will move the pedal up as I do some playing here. Given the number of parameters in the Fractal units that are available to be modified and attached to a controller, the possibilities here literally are almost endless. So whatever it is that needs to be added to a sound to make you feel more confident, to make you feel like you've turned up a talent knob, it is almost certainly available to you. Just a couple of quick final thoughts that you could do that I might not necessarily add to this tone, but let's say you wanted to add in an entirely different delay. Let's say a Plex delay to really take this to the next level. We could add in a Plex delay, set it to the parameters that we want. Let's say a 12% mix with a 2-second decay time. Let's turn off this delay for a second. A little bit of plexing happening in the background there. Let's add a little bit more of a mix. And now what we can do is simply bring the input gain in. FC pedal 1, minimum 0, max 100. And now we have a Plex delay that is not in there at all when the pedal's down. And when the pedal's up, we're sending sound through it. So bottom, top. Some nice wispy Plex repeats there coming out at the end. Now that sound might in fact be too much. It may be the sort of thing where turning this pedal all the way up is fundamentally changing the sound of the lead to you. So let's take this one step further. How about 75% of the pedal's travel doesn't bring in any Plex delay at all? So you could bring it up 3/4 of the way. There's your talent knob all the way there. But if you really then want to kick it into ultimate God mode, you get the Plex to come in. We can crank the scale all the way up on this modifier curve and bring the mid down to 0. So now no Plex, no Plex, no Plex. And in the last quarter of the pedal, the Plex comes on. So no Plex, 50% Plex, full Plex. That way you're reserving just that last little bit of toe kick for the ultimate power lead. We could even do the same thing with gain so that 75% of your pedal is a gradual increase in the amount of sustain and saturation that you're getting. But then that last little toe kick is kind of like an emergency switch and is going to really kick the lead into the stratosphere. We could go to the preamp page here and turn on a boost. but only, again, in that last little bit of travel on the pedal itself. So here we go as I bring the talent pedal up. So it turns from a gradual pedal into all of a sudden somewhat of a switch at the very end. Another thought to consider on your talent knob, you may want to thicken up the sound with a modulation type effect, like a micro pitch or maybe even a chorus pedal. Could add a dimension chorus here and modify the mix. FC pedal 1, mix of 0, and then maybe let's say 15%. So here we are, pedal all the way down. So just a little thickening up of the tone by bringing in a bit of chorus at the top end of the pedal. Again, the possibilities are almost literally endless in Fractal land. So let me know in the comments on this video what you guys have added to your talent knob, what blocks, what different parameters you're modifying, and I will be very interested to see what all it is that makes you feel like you've taken the playing to the next level and made everything just a little bit easier for you to nail. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please do make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to G66's channel. And let me know what you would like to see on a future Fractal Friday in the comment section below. And as always, if you guys want to get the absolute most out of your Fractal Audio Systems unit, whether that is the Axfex 3, the FM9, or the FM3, make sure to visit classes.coopercarter.com for my complete Fractal Audio Masterclass series. There are some very special Fractal Audio artist tone tours coming up in the next few weeks. So for all things Fractal Audio, keep it right here on G66, and I will see you very soon on Fractal Friday.